Okay, good afternoon, everybody. How are you guys doing? Good? Hope so. The weather here is nice. It hasn't been hot today, and so that's great. It's kind of cloudy. It looks like we have most everybody here. I do not have the waiting room enabled, so people will be able to come and go as they please. I am able to see the chat feed on my screen. So if anybody has any questions or when we go into Q&A, I will be reading from the chat screen. So with that said, the first thing that I want to get started on is body fat. We have a lot to cover in theory. There is a whole lot of theory where body contouring is concerned. I know everybody is super ready to jump into probably demo and all of that, but I'm just going to prepare you guys. That's going to come much later in the afternoon because we have a lot to cover so that everybody can fully understand every aspect of what we do. Going through the theory and understanding all of this is going to make it possible for you to be able to operate any machine that you have. I see a lot of questions people ask about wanting to know how to operate different machines. Understanding the treatments will eliminate the problem of needing training on each machine type. Every machine does the same thing. So understanding the treatments entirely helps eliminate the need for these individual machine trainings. So first thing that we need to understand are the differences in body fat. After all, that's what we're treating is body fat. There's some fat that we can treat. There's some fat that we cannot treat. The fat that we can treat on the body is above the muscle. It's the subcutaneous fat. It's soft, squishable fat. You can pinch it. There is another type of fat that you see often in people that are considered overweight. A lot of times it is very hard, firm fat. We typically refer to this as like the beer belly or the really hard fat. This is underneath the muscle. It is inside the abdominal cavity. A lot of times this grows around organs. This fat cannot even be removed surgically. It is too dangerous. Absolutely no body contouring treatment can target visceral fat. This is something that can only be eliminated through diet and exercise. When we have clients come in and we are looking at their bodies and the treatments that we are going to be doing on them, it's really important that you can understand the difference between visceral fat and subcutaneous fat. Now, there are a few conditions that can appear as visceral fat, but may actually be a fluid retention or possibly a constipation issue in women. A lot of times this upper tummy area here can be really bloated and tight. And sometimes that can be mistaken for visceral fat. Typically, if it is fluid in this area or a constipation issue, that can be eliminated just through a good detox. And we'll go over that in some later portions of the training whenever I cover client intake. But understanding the difference between the two fats is really important. So you don't need to be afraid to touch your clients. Subcutaneous fat is above the muscle. It is pinchable. You can grab it. Visceral fat is under the muscle. We cannot target that area, and it presents as being very hard to the touch. Imagine like a belly, like a ripe watermelon is what you're going to be feeling. It's very hard. You can thump it, you're not able to grab it and pinch it. So visceral fat is also a very dangerous, very dangerous fat. A lot of times people that are carrying visceral fat have a lot of other health issues, high blood pressure, diabetes, different health issues. So inform your clients that visceral fat will only be eliminated through a lifestyle change, which is better eating habits and exercise. We also have two different types of fat within the body that are not based on where they are found in the body. It is actually you have brown fat and you have white fat. Brown fat is good fat. It is what is stored within your body. You're born with a certain amount of brown fat. A lot of times you will see brown fat in a higher percentage of brown fat in people who are more active. Brown fat actually uses energy from white fat to keep the body warm. So brown fat is a good, healthy fat. White fat, however, is the fat that we are looking to eliminate. It is the unhealthy fat. It is not the fat that the body needs in order to maintain its warmth. So white fat is what we target whenever we are doing body contouring. Everything with body contouring starts and ends with the lymphatic system. Everything. Everybody is focused on order of treatment, and order of treatment means nothing without understanding how the lymphatic system works and how the fat is actually going to leave the body. So I want to talk to you guys. We're probably going to be talking for a while on the lymphatic system. There are several points to this particular part of the training. We're going to talk about the lymphatic system overall, how it's made up within the body, where it is located, how these fluids are taken out of the body, ways to stimulate the lymphatic system, and issues with the lymphatic system that can cause problems within the body that can lead to fluid retention, constipation, cellulite, a lot of different issues that we will see and deal with when we're seeing clients on a daily basis. So this is really probably the most important part of the entire training is the lymphatic system. Everything within our business starts and ends with the lymphatic system. So you guys understand that our bodies have two separate systems. We have a circulatory system, and it is responsible for moving blood throughout our body. And then we have a lymphatic system. Our lymphatic system is our body's entire immune response. The lymphatic system is actually a very superficial system. It is found within the dermal layer of the skin, and it is made up of lymph nodes, lymph vessels, and lymphatic capillaries. Okay, it's a three-part system, and everything that is broken down from our body has to leave our body from the lymphatic system. It has to be transported from the lymphatic system to the circulatory system, and once it reaches the circulatory system, its first stop is the liver, and the liver will decide whether or not this waste that is in the lymph fluid will be recirculated throughout the body based off of what may be needed in that lymph fluid, whether it be different proteins and things that are needed for the body. The liver will filter out the bad that the body does not need, and it will either be sent to the intestines or it will be sent to the kidneys. So it's going to leave your body in one of two ways. It is either going to leave through bowel movement or through urination. So when we are looking at the lymphatic system. And I'm going to share my screen for just a second because I want to be able to show you some pictures so that you can understand some of this while I am talking. So hold on just 1 second. Okay. Okay, everybody should be looking at an image here of the lymphatic system. And just briefly, if anyone cannot see this image, could you just turn on your mic real quick and let me know if you cannot see the screen share? Okay, so I assume that everybody can see this. So what we have here, if y'all can just look at my little mouse pointer over here that's moving around. Okay, you see all these straight lines here. These are your lymphatic capillaries. Inside these capillaries are your lymphatic vessels. These are like roads all over the body, and they lead to lymph nodes. And when you have fluid that is traveling through these capillaries, they make stops at each one of these lymph nodes along its path. And each time fluid is stopped at a lymph node location, it is filtered and moved on to the next location. The main destination point is this area right here, is where everything is pumped to. It is where it all goes. And once it reaches this area here, it is actually mixed into the circulatory system. There's a little bit of a chemical change that happens here. Proteins are added to the lymph fluid before it is dumped over into the circulatory system. And this is the route that everything in our body takes. Anything that is broken down, it moves all throughout this system right here. You notice and see that there are areas that are a lot more populated with lymph nodes than other areas. Our abdomen and groin area right here is actually a huge lymphatic portal. There is a lot going on in this area. This is part of the reason why hand movements and a lot of stimulation is necessary whenever we are doing body contouring treatments. We want to stimulate movement within this entire system while we are working, because the lymphatic system is not self-starting like the circulatory system. It does not have a pump that is constantly moving. It must be made to move. Now I want to explain how what is broken down from a fat cell actually gets onto this system right here. So let me pull up another image real quick. Okay, so the image that we are looking at here is, you can see we have intracellular fluid, which is inside these cells right here. So you can see that this is a fully intact fat cell in this area right here. This blue area around the fat cells is interstitial fluid. So basically what this is around these fat cells is vacant fluid within the tissue. Now your veins leak into the interstitial tissue constantly. They leak small amounts, so you have free-flowing fluid around these fat cells. Well, when we break down a fat cell, the contents of the fat cell overflows into the interstitial fluid that are around the cells. So now that fluid is no longer inside the cell. It is free flowing around the cell, and that becomes lymphatic territory. And let me pull up another image here. I'm going to show you how this fluid gets onto the lymphatic train. So when I was talking earlier about, we were looking at the little roads on the lymphatic system map that I was showing you. Each one of those roads is actually a capillary. Inside the capillary are little lymphatic vessels, and I'm going to pull up an image to show you guys what lymphatic vessels look like. But what you're seeing right now, this is the outer coating of the lymphatic vessel. This is like a tubular type coating. And if you'll notice on this tubular coating, there are these little flap-like mini valves, okay? So these valves open up, and when they open up, if you will, you guys just look over here at me instead of the image on the screen. When that valve opens up, it opens like this, you see on my arms. So when the lymphatic system is stimulated, the valve opens. And then when the valve opens, it creates almost like a drain type effect within the area. So any vacant fluid that is within the tissue and no longer encapsulated inside a cell, when this valve opens, that fluid will flow into the capillary. Once it is inside the capillary, it goes into an actual vessel. And let me see here. Here we go. Okay, these are what lymphatic vessels look like. They are circular. They look kind of like little pearls a little bit. Each lymphatic vessel has its own little chamber. These lymphatic vessels are also engineered to only flow one direction. So these lymphatic vessels can only lead to certain destination points. You cannot backflow a lymphatic vessel. The body will not allow it. This is why understanding your directional movements when you are closing a session is so important with your vacuum. Because when we are stimulating movement of fluid, it is important that we move in the proper directions to help stimulate these little valves here within each vessel to open up and allow the fluid to move through. And I'm going to pull up an image here for you to see that will show you the directions that these lymphatic capillaries and vessels, where they lead to which points of the body. Hold on just 1 second, guys. This is the wrong image. Hold on. Okay, so you can see these movements here, the arrow directions. On the tummy area here, about 1 inch or 2 inches above the belly button, just right below the rib cage, there is an imaginary line right here, and all of the lymphatic capillaries run to the groin area right here. Let me see if I can do a side by side so y'all can see why so many of these. I'm going to try to show you guys where some of these main locations here are on the front of this image. Okay, so you can see when you're looking at these bodies side by side. So we have these downward movements here on the lower abdomen, and it is routing everything to these groin node locations right here. You see we have a lot of activity here. So this is where you're going to route everything from the lower tummy. Now, the upper abdomen is going to be routed towards the auxiliary area, which is near the armpits. And you can see these arrows show you which way you would need to be operating your vacuum when you close a session to try to route everything to its appropriate destination. This is a very helpful image that can be used in your studio until you memorize your vacuum movements. It basically shows you every area of the body and how you would need to be operating your vacuum. And we will get into that more in depth later on whenever I cover some of the different treatments. But I'm wanting you guys to understand the reason why we could not take our vacuum up here at the upper abdomen and bring it all the way down. We would not be helping any of this fluid up here move. It would stay in its location because you cannot backflow a lymphatic vessel at all. The body will not allow for it. They all have certain destination points, and that is the only way that it will allow you to push the fluid, is towards the appropriate destination. Now, I want for you guys to understand the difference between closing a session to move lymphatic fluid versus manual lymphatic drainage. I hear a lot of people refer to, they want to know about lymphatic drainage massage. Lymphatic drainage massage. That is something very different than what we do. What we do in body contouring, these movements are necessary in order to clean up our mess because we have broken down a lot of fat cell contents. And we have made a big mess all throughout the body, all in that interstitial tissue, all in that area. We have a huge mess. The vacuum is how we clean that up. So when we are using the vacuum, we are routing all of that vacant fluid to these roads, to these lymphatic vessels. We need to get all of our mess near these valves on these lymphatic vessels, because I want for you guys to imagine, if we just did a body contouring treatment and we broke everything down and we did not properly clean our area, we would be relying on these valves that open to basically suck everything that we had messed up out of the area. Okay, now you are going to get some vacuum motion from the lymphatic vessel when the valve opens, but it's not a very aggressive cleanup motion. It's going to grab a lot of what is nearby when it opens. When it opens, some of that is going to flow inside. So the goal is to get this fluid moved to these main lymphatic pickup points so that when these valves open, it can allow more of what we have broken down in. So when I say that we are using our vacuum to clean up the area, to stimulate lymphatic movement, in order for the valve to even open or any of our mess to leave the area, it must be stimulated. So when I'm talking about stimulating lymphatic movement, understand that is not the same thing as manual lymphatic drainage. Manual lymphatic drainage is a specialized technique that only licensed massage therapists can perform. It is a head-to-toe technique. It is not something that is taught in massage therapy school. It is usually a secondary course that has to be taken once you are licensed in order to be able to perform this. And it is nothing like what we do in body contouring. Yes, we are stimulating lymphatic movement. Yes, we are wanting to get what we have broken down onto the lymphatic system. That is what we are doing. We are wanting to take what we have broken down and put it on to the lymphatic system. Manual lymphatic drainage is actually a technique that is done when the lymphatic system is congested and all of the lymph nodes are entirely full. A lot of times when the lymphatic system is congested, all of the lymph nodes are full. A massage therapist can manually drain every one of these lymph nodes, can drain the contents of these lymph nodes over into the circulatory system to free up that lymphatic vessel in order for more fluid to be able to flow through. So it is a very different technique. I want everyone to be really careful about how you use this terminology, particularly whenever we get into the later chapters and I talk a lot about our hands being used as a form of manual contouring along with what we do with our machines. That is exactly what we are doing with our hands. We are manually contouring the body. We are not giving massages. So we need to be very careful with that terminology. And I'm going to get another image pulled up here for you guys to see. Okay, what can happen whenever the lymphatic system is congested or backed up? This happens a lot. As body contouring technicians, we need to know how to recognize this. We need to know when to refer our clients to a licensed massage therapist for manual lymphatic drainage in combination with our treatments, because what we do is very, very aggressive on the lymphatic system. We are breaking down a lot for that system to move out. So if we are dealing with a client that already may have a congested lymphatic system, or they may be slightly backed up, we need to be able to identify that so that we know how to coordinate their treatment. A lot of things that go on with women in general are due to sluggish lymphatic systems, particularly around the age of 40, or when our body is getting to the point where we may be getting, our hormone levels are changing, that can affect lymphatic movement. It can make your lymphatic system very sluggish. This can lead to just overall being tired. It can cause your bowels to slow down, which can lead to constipation, which a lot of times is what leads to this really swollen area here at the top of the tummy with women. A lot of times it will show through water retention in the fingers, in the ankles. These are questions that we need to ask our clients. You know, do they have circulation issues? This could be a sign of a sluggish lymphatic system. Do you notice a lot of cellulite? That is a big indicator of a sluggish lymphatic system. Are they, you know, carrying extra fluid whenever they're on their feet for long periods of time, or whenever they wake up in the mornings? Your body goes through a natural detox while you sleep, which is one of the main reasons why you should not compress while you sleep. It's actually recommended for you to sleep naked, actually, because the lymphatic system is superficial. So just the slightest amount of pressure, prolonged pressure on an area, can impede lymphatic flow. So your body is not able to properly move everything out, because maybe you have one of these lymphatic roads blocked. We deal with a lot of breast issues overall due to just lymphatic issues. Just our bras alone constrict a lot of fluid movement through these areas. When you are not getting appropriate lymphatic fluid movement from an area, this is what happens. When you have areas of the body where lymph flow is constricted, one of the first things that you will notice is swelling. A lot of times women do not notice this in their breast area because of breast tissue. But what happens is stagnant lymph fluid, which is basically toxic fluid buildup is what it is. And it will become stagnant in the area. And what happens over time is, when that is not getting the appropriate movement that it needs, you lose a lot of alkalinity in those areas, and the pH levels drop dramatically. When the pH drops, this allows for the environment to become very acidic. Okay, when you take a starved area that is not receiving the proteins and the appropriate oxygen levels that it needs, what will begin to happen in that environment is scar tissue will start to form. In this area here, this is something that goes undetected a lot. Sometimes it is the source of broth fat. Is actually not fat, it's actually fluid retention that is not being moved. It needs to be moved from the area. A lot of times we mistake fat, or we mistake fluid for fat. This can lead to issues. Everybody knows what grows from acidic environments combined with scar tissue, what can happen. So that is how cancerous growths can form. So the lymphatic system is extremely, extremely, extremely important. We need to recognize issues with the lymphatic system from word go with our clients, because that will be the first thing that we need to address. If we agree to treat them and we already know that they are having issues with a sluggish lymphatic system, we need to be looking for ways to keep that system stimulated. So we need to be talking to them about things that they can do at home to keep their lymphatic system stimulated and moving, and also there are things that we can do in our studio to stimulate their lymphatic movement. That's something that I'm fixing to talk to y'all about. And referring them to a massage therapist to have manual lymphatic drainage massages done during treatment will also serve to be very beneficial overall. A lot of times we have women who work office jobs. They are not as active. They become sedentary, and that leads to just poor circulation, sluggish lymphatic movement. We start seeing bloating, cellulite, all different types of things, and the root of that problem is the lymphatic system. And if we want to treat the client and take care of some of these issues, whether it be cellulite treatment, whether it be, you know, reducing fat in the area, we also need to counsel them on ways that they can treat the root of the problem, which is a lot of times lymphatic issues. And I'm going to open my screen back up. Okay. All right, guys. So understanding how the lymphatic system works, how it can affect clients in our treatment. I want to talk to you guys about some things that we can do to stimulate lymphatic movement. When you have for myself, when I have a client come in, I assume that they are coming in with what I would call a quote loaded system, meaning I assume immediately that they likely have a very sluggish lymphatic system and that they probably need to be stimulated because they likely have not been self-stimulating their system at home. They're obviously not extremely active. A lot of our clients that come to us, they are not extremely active. They are looking for a way for us to fix it with our machines. So I assume that my clients need to be stimulated before I ever start working on them, because why would I add insult to injury? Why would I do a body contouring session knowing that they likely have an understimulated lymphatic system and it may be, you know, entirely full? For all I know, their system could be backed up, you know, and me not even know it. So I treat everyone as if, you know, that needs to be the first step in treatment. First step in treatment outside of when the client comes in, naturally, we're going to do client intake, we're going to do forms, and I'm going to cover all of that later. We're going to identify any issues with treatment. And from that point, typically, my first goal is going to be to stimulate lymphatic movement. I have a couple of different things in the shop that help me do that. I have a vibration plate. Vibration therapy is a great way to stimulate lymphatic movement. The lymphatic system is stimulated a few ways. Very gentle upward stretching motions on the skin can stimulate movement, which will allow for the valves to open on the capillaries. Another thing that will stimulate lymphatic movement is muscle contractions. When muscles contract, it creates a pumping motion within the lymphatic environment. That will allow the valves to open on the capillaries and for some of these vessels to release fluid and allow more in from the tissue. Another way that we can stimulate lymphatic movement through muscle contraction other than exercise is with the vibration plate. It is a full body lymphatic movement system. So when you're on the vibration plate and you're feeling the vibration, it is actually allowing all of the muscles within your body to contract. So the vibration plate is a really good form of lymphatic stimulation and movement. You can put a client on the vibration plate for 10 to 15 minutes coming in for treatment. The good thing about the lymphatic system is it cannot be overstimulated. Stimulate away. You are not going to hurt the body by stimulating the lymphatic system. It's only going to make the body more healthy. So if you do not have a vibration plate, another good way to stimulate the lymphatic system is through a sauna blanket or a sauna tent or a sauna box or just an infrared sauna, any type of product that will increase body temperature and increase heart rate. Another way that lymphatic movement is stimulated is through deep breathing, increased heart rate. This can help detox and move fluid from the body, and of course the increased sweating. So that is another way that you can stimulate lymphatic movement. I personally would recommend the vibration plate. The client doesn't get quite as, if the purpose of the treatment alone is just for lymphatic stimulation, throw them on the vibration plate. However, if you notice that they are very, very, very swollen, if I'm touching and feeling on a client and I'm wondering, I'm like, is this fluid? Are they possibly constipated? Like how can I tell if this is, fluid within the area, or if we are dealing with like a visceral fat type issue, or maybe they need to use the bathroom? I will wrap them up in osmotic wrap, compress them really well with a good hot cream or a good slimming cream. There are several different types of slimming creams. Honestly, most slimming creams are not made to penetrate the subcutaneous layer. So these creams are never making it to the fat cell anyway. So most of their ingredients are irrelevant because they're never making it to the destination point. However, they can help the body to release fluid, because a lot of that fluid is found within the dermal layer, and some of these creams are capable of reaching these areas. Some of them are thermogenics, and that can help to move fluid also. So you can rub a client down really good, either with a slimming cream or a hot cream. They're both good. It's really going to depend on your client's tolerance. Compress them really, really well with 4 to 5 layers all the way around of osmotic wrap. Put them into the sauna blanket or the sauna box, your sauna tent, whatever it is that you have, and let them sweat for 30 minutes. A lot of times you will notice that some of what you were seeing and feeling initially was fluid that needed to be moved from out of the area. So those are some ways that you can start treatment depending on what's going on with the client. Every client is going to present differently. You are going to have to rely on your knowledge of different body types and different situations and how they present as to how you may stimulate them whenever they come in. Most clients will be a good go on the vibration plate. If you are wanting to get aggressive with a client because you feel like they may require it, then you may want to put a slimming cream or a hot cream on them, wrap them up very, very tight, exfoliate very good before you put the cream on. I'm going to show you some gloves here that I get from Amazon. These are exfoliating gloves. You can get a pack of 50 of these for like $20. I will typically put these on my hands and I will exfoliate the crap out of my client before I put slimming cream or hot cream on. And then I take the gloves off and wrap them up and give them to my clients and tell my clients to take them home and they can keep them. They are washable. And exfoliation is another good way to stimulate lymphatic movement. We need to be having our clients stimulate lymphatic movement at home also while they are on treatment with us. So if we provide them with some cute little scratchy gloves, women don't like difficult instructions. They don't want for you to hand them a dry brush and a dry brush chart with a 3-chapter course on how to dry brush. Women don't have time for that. They're busy. They don't even want to exercise. That's why they are in our studios. However, if you can give them some of these little gloves and you can say, okay, baby, when you get in the shower tonight, I want for you to use these gloves as your wash rag. I want for you to sud them up and use these all over your body as your wash rag. That scratching and tugging motion all over their skin will stimulate lymphatic movement. Alternating cold and warm showers within the same shower. Cold water, hot water, cold water, hot water. That will stimulate lymphatic movement. Deep breathing, yoga stimulates lymphatic movement. Best case scenario for your client at home, lymphatic stimulation at home, I will recommend for my clients to exfoliate every night in the shower. Can you show how to exfoliate? This is the thing that I love about recommending for my clients to exfoliate, because this is not rocket science and this is not going to require you to move in any specific motions. You are just going to take your exfoliating gloves and you are going to scrub every square inch of skin all over you, all over your body, front, back, everywhere. We want scratching all over the surface of the skin for our clients who are exfoliating at home. When we are exfoliating before we're putting slimming cream on, the whole goal is, the reason why we are exfoliating is because most clients have a layer of dead skin on top, which can cause an issue with product penetration. So our goal with the gloves is just to scrub the skin in the area. Now, because of the way I touch my clients, I do have a habit of, when I'm exfoliating, using dry brush movements with my gloves. Those movements are the same movements that are shown on the chart in your body contouring Bible on page, hold on just 1 second here, let me find it. I'm going to go to my table of contents here so that I can find it. If you have not been through your body contouring Bible from page to page, I highly recommend it. Hold on just 1 second. Let me find where this dry brushing chart is. Okay, on page 11 in the body contouring Bible, there is a small dry brushing chart on there that shows you movements. If you want to exfoliate in the dry brushing motions, that is definitely beneficial. And yes, guys, I recommend everybody. So anybody that takes a class with me gets a digital copy of the body contouring Bible. No, you don't put anything on the gloves. If you put anything on the gloves, it will likely inhibit you being able to remove the dry skin, because it's actually going to be moisturizing the skin. So you're going to do it with dry gloves. The body contouring Bible in printable form. So this is a copy here. I put this into a folder, and this is actually the copy that I use for training whenever I'm doing my classes, because the pages are bigger than what it is in my paperback. I emailed this file to Staples and I had them print it for me. And I just picked it up and put it straight into a folder. And this is what I use. Bigger letters. I have bad eyes, so the larger pages are good for me. Everything in this copy of the book is the exact same thing that is in the paperback copy. So, stimulating lymphatic movement, step 1. That is the very number 1 first thing that we do with our clients at the start of a treatment. Everything lymphatic system is the alpha and the omega, the beginning and the end, okay? We are going to start with stimulating the lymphatic system always. And we are going to close our session by stimulating the lymphatic system. So that is your number 1 step in client treatment, is stimulating the lymphatic system. I have talked to you guys about how the lymphatic system works. I have talked to you guys about issues with the lymphatic system and how to identify some of these issues. We have talked about ways to stimulate lymphatic movement. This is very, very important. First step for your clients is stimulating lymphatic movement. There are links in the body contouring Bible too, to under recommended products, I believe there is a link to a link to where you can go for a vibration plate or a sauna blanket. There are several links in the back. So I do recommend that you have a vibration plate in the studio. I got mine for $150 and it has a weight capacity of 440 pounds. It's a really good vibration plate. We are fixing to get ready to move on to the next section. Before I do, does anybody have any questions over the lymphatic system portion of training? Does everyone understand how the system works? Why we need to stimulate? Okay, if we don't have any questions over the lymphatic system, then I'm going to move on to the next section.